Alright. Now we're gonna move on to the colorless cards, the artifacts mainly. So first up we have Agus Automata. This is 2 mana for 0/3. Pay 4 generic and a white to return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. Oh my god, this is so not good.
This card's bad.
This is really freaking bad. 5 mana is not something I want to be casting. 5 mana is not something I want to be spending to bounce back one of my own creatures. And 2 mana 0/3 itself is just like garbage.
If its activated ability costed less, I could justify it as a card to get back or to protect your creatures, but at 5 mana, it's just not worth.
Let's move on. Next up, we have Aether Harvester. This is 3 mana for a 3/5 artifact vehicle. It's got flying. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. And you can pay an energy to give it lifelink until end of turn. And it's got Crew 1. Crew 1 is just...
This card's great. This card might even see play in Legacy. I think the card's that good.
Wow, Legacy, huh?
Yep. I think it might even see play in Legacy. Where? Or like... well, like, there's certain shop lists, like... Shop lists are in Vintage, but there's certain lists in Legacy where you have soul lands, where you can play colorless cards a lot earlier.
Yeah.
You know, soul lands are basically lands that tap for 2 generic. And this card is great in those. The lifelink is very important. And like Vintage, the shop list, they already play like... was that Fleetwheel Dragster? It's like the 5/3 with haste.
I think.
Yeah, Fleetwheel Cruiser or whatever. This could see play as a sideboard card to that. Like if you're ever against like an aggressive deck or something. This card is just great. I'm not sure if I would play this in Modern. I don't know about that. Maybe in like a list that ran Lingering Souls. This might be good in the sideboard there. Yeah. There's a lot of possibilities to this card.
Crew 1 just opens up so much potential.
Yeah.
Basically. It's just so easy to crew.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's undoubtable that this card will be an instant hit in Standard.
It gobbles up copters as well, which is really good.
Yeah.
Alright, next up we have Augmenting Automatons. 1 generic for a 1/1 construct. You can pay 1 and a black. Gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
This is part of a cycle. There's a bunch of common artifact creatures that have activated abilities, mana sinks basically, with a color that they're in.
I mean, mana sinks are important because in Colorless right now, there's almost no mana sinks. That design space is pretty much taken up by energy.
Oh, sorry, I just got to bring up something. Freakazoid mentioned use this in blue-white humans to trigger Lone Rider. That's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
I almost forgot about Lone Rider. That card's sweet, though.
It's a cool card.
Wish it was better.
But yeah, these
oh, white green, he says, yeah.
These artifact cycle is okay. It's something that's we needed because there's not really too many places where we can sync our mana in the late game in limited. But they've been pretty weak so far. I mean, it's understandable because they're artifacts, so like you can jam them in pretty much any deck. Although actually, now that I think about it, that's not true for this cycle because you have an activated color.
Yeah. I mean, this one in particular is not good. I mean, yeah, it's just like you'd have to pay 4 mana to basically get a 3/3. No, I would not play this guy.
Next we have Barricade.
It's just too weak.
Next we have Barricade Breaker. It's a 7 generic, 7/5 Juggernaut with Improvise, and it has to attack each combat if able.
No, I like this card. Now, having to attack each combat if able is kind of meh. But the fact he has Improvise, you can reasonably get him to like maybe 5 mana, you know, just tapping 2 artifacts. And a 7/5 that has to attack each turn for 5 is great.
I mean, I suppose 5 toughness is actually pretty good. There's not too many things that'll kill it.
5 toughness is good. And with 7 power, you want to be attacking anyways.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I actually like this card. The fact that you can get him out for cheap is really appealing.
Better than the red one. Alright, next up, Cogwork Assembler. 3 mana, 2/3 assembly worker. You can pay 7 generic to create a token that's a copy of target artifact. That token gains haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step.
Now, one thing I want to bring up about that card is, yes, 7 mana is a lot to sink into this guy, but it's target artifact. You can copy your opponent's artifacts. There are situations in Limited where that might be helpful. Plus, he's a 3 mana 2/3. That's perfectly acceptable.
I mean, 7 mana is a lot to be asking for, but like when you got your just mana lying around with nothing to do, you might as well activate it. That's free value. Well, not free value, but value you could.
Yes, Freakazoid for Barricade Breaker. If you have 7 artifacts, he can cost 0. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, that's what it. Yeah, improvise is pretty strong keyword.
Yep. Okay, so Cogwork Assembler, back to him, is that he is a assembly worker as a subtype, and that is kind of helpful with those one card from Kaladesh that's Assembly Workers Matters.
That card is not good though. I really not.
No, but
The
I mean
problem-
there are situations where it's not the
The
worst thing.
problem with the card that tutors for another assembly workers that I'm paying 5 mana for 4/4, which in the end doesn't really do much. So yeah, the fact that you can fetch it out with the assembly worker finder is not that important. I think.
What I'm saying is that this guy's a 3 mana 2/3, and that's not the worst.
Okay, next up we have Consulate.
Oh, this card's silly.
1 mana for 7/11 vehicle, crew 6. It's 1 mana. Why?
All gas station jokes aside, this guy plus was it Siege Formation or whatever?
Big
The
nuts.
3 mana red,
Yeah.
the 3 mana red enchantment. That's hilarious. You know, sometimes like in constructed, you could get the nut draw of Consulate Dreadnought turn 1, turn 2, 2 Consulate Dreadnoughts. Then turn 4, you play like Start Your Engines or something. That sounds hilarious to me.
That's lethal right there. That's
Probably completely unreliable.
no,
but
absolutely unreliable. But this
Yeah.
is a funny card. I like the stat line for 1 mana. It's pretty funny. Crew 6 is brutal. You basically have to cheat it. You can start your engines. You can enchant it with those enchantments we've been seeing. You can use Peacekeeper Colossus, which we haven't seen yet, but it's in this set, to activate crews for mana. So it's not out of this world to be able to cheat this card into combat, but Crew 6 is just way too much.
Yeah, I mean, and you do have that one card. Was it not Dreadnoughts, but it's like Peacekeeper or something? We're going to see it later on, but Peacekeeper is pretty good with this guy as well.
Next we have Consulate Turrets, a 3 mana artifact. You can tap it to get energy, and you can tap it and pay 3 to deal 2 damage to target player. Ugh, that's kind of boring. It's not very good, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
thought-
energy
yeah.
per turn is kind of slow.
Yeah, I thought this was kind of decent because you can just continually getting artifact and you can just continually ping people. Well, let's put it more than a ping, but ultimately, yeah, it's too slow.
It depends how slow the limited format is, because at the same time, it's kind of hard to deal with, and it does. I don't know. I don't like this card though.
No, I don't.
I think this card is bad. Yeah.
Next, we have Crackdown Construct. This is 4 generic for a 2/2 construct. Whenever an activated ability of an artifact or creature that isn't a mana ability is activated, Crackdown Construct gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
Yeah, and this with Wandering Fumarole is pretty hilarious.
Infinite activations, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid.
It's a silly combo, yeah.
Play in standard, I believe. I just
No.
asked too much. I mean, you gotta wait for it to survive first of all. So that's rough. So 2/2 is pretty fragile. All right.
4 mana 2/2, generally not what you want to play. But that combo is hilarious.
So next up we have Daredevil Dragster. It's a 3 mana for a 4/4 vehicle. At the end of combat, if Dragster attacked or blocked this combat, put a velocity counter on it. Then if it has 2 or more velocity counters, sack it and draw 2 cards with crew 2. Oh, man. I kind of like it, but I kind of hate it.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, like, if you think about it, it's almost like a divination, except you have to be a 4/4 with crew 2 for 2 turns first. But one thing I think is kind of funny is that if you get 1 velocity counter on this, and then your opponent steals it with the red expertise, and then attacks,
Yeah, it's Gonzo. That's rough.
yeah, they get to draw 2 cards.
This is an interesting card. You get a lot of value when it dies, for sure. Drawing 2 cards is
Yeah.
nothing to laugh at. But, oh, man. I don't want it to die. It's kind of awkward. Thurs Revolt by itself, I suppose.
Yeah. Pork Ninja, you might be thinking of Peasant, or was it, what is it? Peasant, where you can play uncommons?
Yeah, I think that's the format.
Because this guy isn't uncommon, yeah. You couldn't play him in Pauper.
Oh, unfortunately, I suppose. Filigree Crawler is next. 4 for a 2/2 artifact creature insect. When it dies, create a 1/1 colorless adopter artifact creature token with flying. I mean, it's fine. If you can sack it, that's okay. You got a Thopter, and you get revolt triggers. But total stats-wise, it's only 3/3 for 4.
One thing I do like about this card, though, is that it generates 2 artifacts. And there are decks that you want to be sacrificing either creatures or artifacts. And this guy plays to both. Like, so I think there are decks where he's really good, where Filigree Crawler can be absurd. Like, what comes to mind is like the ATOG, the Gremlin ATOG. It's also good for triggering Revolt. And a 2/2 that spawns a 1/1 flyer for 4 mana at common by itself is not bad. It's like below average, but it's not bad.
Well, it's a card that there's better alternatives, I think. I just think this is
but there are a lot of shells that want this card. A lot of shells where they sacrifice creatures or artifacts, and this guy fits both.
It's too expensive though. If you want something like that, get a Filigree Familiar.
I disagree. Is that you get 2 triggers off of him. I'm talking more about limited here. But you get 2 instances of sacrifice because you sacrifice the Filigree Crawler, and then you have another artifact or creature to sacrifice afterwards. I actually like this guy a lot.
I don't think I'll pick this highly. I'm not a fan. Alright, next up we have Foundry Assembler. It's a 5 mana 3/3. Very simply, it's got Improvise. So yeah, tap 2 artifacts, you get a 3/3 for 3. Which is fine, especially as an artifact. It's very simple. Potentially a 0 mana 3/3, but I doubt that'll happen much. It's better filler than most things. Like you'd play this over a vanilla creature, unless like you literally have no artifacts. You good?
Yeah. So are we? We just got to talk about Foundry Assembler.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's okay. I mean, you can potentially, if there's some absurd improvised deck out there that we, may not have seen yet, then this card's great. Otherwise,
It's okay.
And then,
it's not amazing.
yeah. Next card is a mythic artifact. Gonti's Aetherheart, 6 mana, legendary artifact, mythic. Whenever Gonti's Aetherheart or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you get 2 energy counters. Then you can pay 8 energy, exile Gonti's Aetherheart, take an extra turn after this one.
Your typical overcosted take another turn card.
Yep.
This is not that good.
One thing to point out, though, is that this is colorless.
Yeah, it is colorless.
Generally, it's blue that gets access to these cards, and this one's colorless.
Yeah, true.
I think the card's bad, but
any color can play this, yeah, but it's just not good.
Yeah.
6 mana for that effect, it's just not worth it. You're just wasting your turn.
Yep.
Alright, next up we have Heart of Kieran. It's a 2 mana 4/4 artifact vehicle with flying and vigilance with crew 3, but you can remove a loyalty counter from a planeswalker you control rather than pay its crew cost, which is very interesting. I mean, I hate the idea of mythics that only interact with other mythics, but this is a strong card for 2 mana. The problem is you need a lot of walkers, because if you don't, crew 3 is just not worth it for this card.
Yeah, that is a good point.
But a 4/4, yeah.
I think this card, however, if you look at like the current 3 mana walkers in the set, like maybe not so much Saheeli Rai, but like Nissa and Liliana, like those are great activators for Heart of Kieran.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose this is a pretty good with a lot of walkers, and it's a really good protection for these walkers as well.
Yeah.
Vigilance Flyer.
Like Liliana, the Last Hope, you can be pinging down creatures or making them weaker, and then you have Heart of Kieran to block just in case. That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. This card is also the recipient of my pick for best art or favorite art in the set, I suppose. I really like this artwork. I think it's got a kind of like haze to it, which looks cool. And I like the architecture of the ship. It looks very neat. And I like how kind of it's pushed back in the background, kind of gives us up scale. Cool card. I'm no art expert, but I like the art.
For those just tuning in who weren't with us when we looked at blue, my favorite art was a Baral.
Good pick.
Yep. He has some good art.
Next up, we have Hope of Jurper. It's a 1 mana for a 1/1 legendary artifact creature, Thopter. With flying, you can sack it until your next turn. Target player was dealt combat damage by Hope of Jurper. This turn, can't cast non-creature spells. This is a very exciting effect. Control right now isn't that prevalent in Standard, but this can easily be very useful against those lists, letting you set up your important win pieces without fears of counterspells or stuff like that. I like this card.
This card is interesting. Yeah, I agree.
It's so cheap. 1 mana.
Yep.
Oh, and it triggers Revolt too.
That effect is powerful. Like, even if you're just stopping your opponent from playing an on-curve planeswalker, that's good.
Yep.
You know, it can stop vehicles if need be. It is a very interesting card. Plus, you know, triggers Revolt.
I don't think this card will be able to escape sideboards, because like against mid-range decks, against aggro decks, it's kind of dead. Because if you activate it, they'll just play with their creatures that they have.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm really excited about the implications against control mirrors. I like this.
Yeah. All right, next card is the start of a cycle. Implement of Combustion. It is a 1 mana artifact. It is the red version in the cycle. Each card in the cycle has a colored activation cost. This one, you pay red, sacrifice Implement of Combustion. It deals 1 damage to target player. When it hits the graveyard, draw a card.
I mean, it's not good. I mean, paying 2 mana to draw a card and deal 1 damage is just like never useful.
I really wish you could target a creature with it, but then it'd be probably too powerful. But the point of these cards at common is a multitude of things. One, they help you with improvise. So if you have a lot of improvise cards, they help you towards that. 2, they trigger Revolt. So if you ever need to trigger Revolt, they help you with that. And 3, in any of the artifact sacrifice variant sub-decks that are probably going to go on, these are good in those too.
This cycle reminds me a lot of the Vessel cycle from Shadows. It helps you... those help feel Delirium most of the time, but this one helps feel Revolt. But I also think they're more like on par with the Puzzle Knots, which are also all really bad. I mean, like, the effects are just very weak for how much you're putting into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's limited fodder. It's just so that you can help get off your main deals. It reminds me a lot of Vessels from Shadows over Innistrad.
Which I just said.
Oh, you just said that? Yeah, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
That's fine.
This is a long card review.
This entire cycle is kind of meh. If you need to, you pick them up. But I doubt there's too much interaction that's honestly necessary for these kind of effects.
Yeah.
The rest are Implement Examination. So this is 3 mana with the blue cost. Sack it to draw a card, and then when it hits the battlefield, when it hits the graveyard, draw a card. I mean, okay, that is a redeeming feature of these artifacts. That at least when they hit the battlefield, they'll draw you a card. Which is fine, I suppose.
You mean when they hit the graveyard?
Hit the graveyard, yeah.
Yeah.
Next, we have the green one, Implement of Ferocity, 1 mana to pay green, sack it to put a +1/+1 counter, and then draw a card, obviously. Sorcerer speed blows on this.
Yeah.
Card. I mean, it's basically a bad. Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't, like, even if it was instant speed, it's not a true combat trick because your opponent knows about it. It's a permanent on the battlefield. Like, your opponent will take that into consideration.
Yep. I mean, they're just making bad cards is worse. I mean, if this was a 1 mana green without the sorcery clause, it still wouldn't be that high pickable, but it'd be a lot better. Alright, white 1 mana, pay 1 white, sacrifice it, gain 2 life. Yeah, that's a card. Not that impressive.
Probably the worst of them.
And the black one is 2 mana, pay a black to sack it, and target player discards a card. Also a sorcerer speed only, and draws you a card when it hits the grave. Also not that good. I mean, 3 mana, you're paying 3 mana. I mean, it is, you can put it in earlier, I suppose, and pay 1 black later. But essentially it's 3 mana for a worse Mind Rot. I mean, you know what? Not strictly worse. You draw a card, but it's just like, whatever. Alright, moving on from that cycle.
Next card is Inspiring Statuary. 3 mana artifact, rare. Non-artifact spells you cast have improvise. Interesting card.
Yeah, I think 3 mana is cheap-ish enough that it might not be horrible, but playing this for 3 mana just kind of like...
That effect is powerful, though.
It is powerful for sure.
I mean,
a lot of creatures.
I don't think a deck like Eggs would necessarily use this, but decks of that style, you have to consider that. Like, it does require you to have like a weird combination of artifacts and non-artifact spells, but it has a high payoff. I wouldn't write it out yet. If there's some absurd combo, I wouldn't be surprised if this card was a part of it.
Improvise just seems like an effect that's obviously powerful on paper, but I'm not sure it's going to pan out too well in actuality.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Of course, in Limited, this card probably isn't the greatest.
No.
It is kind of like a 3-mana mana rock that taps for colorless. Well, that's pretty bad.
Yes.
So,
don't pick this card. I don't think it's very good at all. Next, we have Ironrich Crusher, a 4-mana 6/6 vehicle with crew 3. Okay. Crew 3 is kind of bad. Basically, the best vehicles have crew 2 or less. Crew 3 gets a lot more difficult, and oftentimes you'll have to have multiple creatures to activate crew 3 and higher. So this one isn't that amazing.
And honestly, for the fact that it's a 4-mana crew 3 vehicle and you're only getting 6/6 in stats,
it's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, if you need more top end at common, I guess it's not the worst thing, but I wouldn't be that happy about playing this card.
Next, we have a Lifecrafter's Bestiary. This is 3 mana for an artifact at the beginning of your upkeep. Scry 1, and whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay a green and draw a card. Oh, this is not bad, actually. I'm not too... I think the effect is good enough at 3 mana.
I think the card's okay in Limited. Just because you can get it early enough where the scries will matter.
Yes.
And then you get an additional bonus each time you play a creature if you have that green to pay. I don't think this... I know some people have been throwing around like the idea of this in Modern Elves, but this is too slow for Elves. This is... I don't think that deck wants that. I think this is... I mean, I might be wrong, but I think this card is too slow for Standard.
In Elves, you can get this thing out real quick. Absolutely.
Yeah, but then you're playing an artifact, whereas when you're playing Elves, like you'd rather play... You'd rather play something like Raw Power that can either tutor out like your Azuri, like Court of Calling. You'd rather play... There's just so many more things you'd rather play than this.
You're right.
Yep.
Alright, next is Merchant's Dockhand. 1 mana for a 1/2. Pay 3 generic and a blue. Tap it. Tap X untapped artifacts you control. Look at the top X cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. Boring.
This is such a weird card.
It's not good.
No.
The effect is just too much mana. For 4 mana, look at the top cards of your library. I mean, that's a pretty decent effect. Look at the top cards of your library and choosing one.
I mean, like, to even get the effect to work, you need at least one other artifact that's untapped.
Yeah, and just tapping a bunch.
That's something to consider.
Yeah, and tapping a bunch of artifacts you control can be pretty detrimental as well.
The card could be powerful. It's just weird. I don't think it's worth it, though.
Activation cost is just too high.
Yeah.
Alright, next we have Metallic Mimic. It's a 2 generic 2/1 shapeshifter. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Metallic Mimic is the chosen type in addition to its other types, and each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it.
This card's great.
In Limited, I'm not a huge fan of this. Because, like,
Well, even in Limited, you can still name stuff like Servo or Thopter. Or Construct.
Probably you're going to have an amalgamation of creatures. And the +1/+1 counters, it's only going to happen every once in a while. And it's a 2 mana 2/1 itself. There's a lot of stuff this can do, though. Well,
yeah.
One of my favorite things is we can do Thopter Tribal in this.
Yeah, there you go. Thopter Tribal.
Dude, play this turn 2, then spit out 4 ornithopters for 0 mana, and they're all 1/3 flyers.
Oh, what a combo.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think the card's great for Tribal.
Yeah, it's fine for Tribal, but like in Limited, it's not exciting. And in Standard right now, there's not really any Tribal deck that really wants to abuse this, right? I mean...
Yeah, but I don't think this card is like really as meant for Standard.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of tribal decks that'll be happy to play this that are either casual modern or especially EDH. All right, Mobile Garrison, 3 mana, artifact vehicle for 3/4 stats. Whenever Mobile Garrison attacks, untap another target artifact or creature you control. Crew 2.
I mean, I was more excited by this card because, like, you essentially get to untap your crewed, the person you crewed with it when it attacks. And then I was thinking, what if I just had another creature that wasn't a vehicle and swung in with 2 creatures instead of swinging in with 1? Which, for a vehicle, 3 mana, that's kind of low, stat-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the problems with this card is that vehicles need to have higher rates of return than this. It's a 3 mana 3/4, except you have to have a creature for it to really be a 3 mana 3/4 that can crew it.
Right.
And that's the part that I'm not too happy about. However, if you do have a lot of servos or ornithopters running around, it does turn creatures that you might not normally have gotten attack with into a 3/4 attacker. But
yeah, true.
To me, it's just, I'm not too thrilled. But it's a common, so maybe I shouldn't be too hard on it.
It's alright, a common.
Alright, next card is Night Market Guard. 3 mana, 3/1 artifact creature construct. Night Market Guard can block an additional creature each combat.
It's a nice effect. It's just kind of small with 1 toughness. Probably die a lot.
Yeah, the effect is interesting because if your opponent is playing like a weenie style deck, it really discourages them from attacking because you can trade so favorably. It's interesting. Probably not that great.
I mean, you can block 2 of their attackers, but most likely they're gonna be able to kill it. So like, you traded a 3-drop for probably a token. It's just like, meh.
Yeah, I mean, 3 mana for 3 power isn't the worst rate, especially at common. But it just feels a little weak. I mean, I guess this guy is alright filler.
This card's a fun card.
Ornithopter, classic.
Classic card. So it's a 0 mana 0/2 flyer. I mean, man, do you think this has any modern implications?
Well, Ornithopter is already in modern, so I'm going to assume that was sarcastic.
Oh, sarcastic, you're right. Good eye.
But, yeah, you almost got me. Yeah, Ornithopter wasn't gone that long. Last set it was in was M15, I think. So it wasn't too far away.
I'm glad this card exists because like Ornithopters always exist.
Yeah.
There's always an Ornithopter.
I mean, in Constructed, Ornithopter is a great card.
In Modern, but I don't know what you do in Standard.
Well, in Standard, you have Tezzeret's Touch.
I suppose.
You have other cards. Plus that one deck that combos out with like Aether Reservoir, Aether Flux Reservoir.
Yeah,
that's another 0 mana artifact for that. Yeah.
Like this card. That's a stupid deck though. I hate that deck.
Plus, HT Fox brings up a good point that it is a mana accelerator with Convoke. The only problem is that Ornithopter is also a creature. Well, no, because Improvise, Improvise you can tap. You can even tap creatures the turn they come into play. So this is great for Improvise, yeah. Because you can play the same turn you Improvise, and you can tap it right away. Yeah, so this card's great in an Improvise deck in limited.
It might be what Improvise needs to like. This might be the glue that Improvise deck need in Standard right now.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of different decks Ornithopter could see playing, and I think for that merit alone, it is a great card to have in Standard.
Next up, we have Pacification Array. It's a 1 generic artifact. To pay 2 to tap it. Target artifact. Gosh, my mind's kind of fast. So it's a 1 generic artifact. To pay 2 and tap it to tap target artifact or creature. I mean, these kind of effects are always powerful.
They're great.
And this is not on a creature itself, which I think is a lot better. I mean, we have like stuff like Sigarda's Priest or whatever, which was a powerhouse in Shadows Limited. This is like that. It's cheaper to play. I think they both these tappers usually cost a 2 no matter what, right?
Yeah, you normally like. I'm trying to think of like Abyssinian Priest or Sigardian Priest as it was last printed. I believe it was 1 and a white and a tap, so it's pretty much the same deal. One good thing about pacification array is that you can tap right away.
Yep, that's
because it's
really
not a
strong.
creature. You
That's
can tap right away.
That's like
Yeah,
the biggest benefit of being
yeah.
I mean, it's harder to blow up, and you can tap it right away. That's really good.
I kind of agree with Pork Ninja. I do think it's a sleeper hit for control, just in the sense that you can play it turn 1. Your opponent likely doesn't have good removal for it, and that you basically just turn 2 mana into keep a creature at bay, use your remaining mana, say like for pushes or anything like that, to remove their other creatures, keep them at 1 creature, and just ignore that creature until you can outclass it.
I'm not crazy on that idea. I think if you're gonna do that, you might as well just have removal that kills it anyways. You know? I mean, if pacification array is gone, then that creature is free to do whatever.
Well, like in the Smuggler Copter decks, you can tap down their Smuggler's Copter after they've crewed, so they just have like 1 creature coming in. Like that's not too bad. Like the fact you can only tap artifacts or creatures is one issue. Yeah, like it'd be nice to be able to hit other stuff like lands, like HC Fox was mentioning. It's not like Icy Manipulator.
Yeah, this is a good card. But I don't see its constructed playability. I think it's bad. Constructed, it's just not good enough. I mean, yeah, you can stop their copter, but like you just blow it up. That's the best thing you can do. Well, anyways.
Yep. But Unlimited, the card's obviously amazing.
Yep.
Next card is Paradox Engine. It is a mythic, 5 converted mana cost. Legendary artifact. Whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control.
That's a stupid
That
ability.
effect is powerful. That effect is powerful.
5 mana, though. That's rough.
Yeah, I don't know if there's exactly anything you'd want to play with it in the moment. I don't play a lot of standards, so I'm not entirely sure. I don't think there's a deck that you'd want to slot in. But obviously in EDH, this card is great. If there is some absurd combo deck, I would not be surprised if those was front and center of it.
I mean,
so
there's a lot of applications for this card. Like an Aetherworks deck, I don't think I would want to put it in my Aetherworks deck. It just costs too much mana. But if it was on the field and you activate Aetherworks, you get your permanent cast, and then it untaps your Aetherworks. And if you have enough energy, do it again.
One thing I love about this card is that it says whenever you cast a spell, so
yeah,
it can be whatever.
Yeah, true.
And you know this. I can't remember if this is quite like Jeskai Ascendancy, but
it is like Jeskai, right? Jeskai had that effect, same effect.
I mean, Jeskai Ascendancy also had the advantage that you could loot after you cast a non-creature spell, but this is an interesting card. I mean, like,
yeah,
I could imagine like some weird Convoke deck where like you could cast Convoke cards and keep chaining them. Like each Convoke card gives you an additional Convoke card or artifact to keep chaining. Like that'd be interesting. I don't quite see it. Probably someone more genius than me would have to design something.
Yeah, I don't
like
believe
that.
this is gonna make it into constructed form.
Yeah, but too much no one can deny that the effect is powerful. Now this is the big daddy. Peacewalker Colossus. 3 mana, artifact vehicle, 6/6 in stats. Activated ability, 1 and a white. Another target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. And crew 4.
You're never going to crew this thing, I think.
I don't think you're ever going to crew this, but that activated effect is very strong.
That's very powerful.
Yeah,
I
like
agree.
The Dreadnought, the 1 mana 7/11.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious with this card.
Dude, Dreadnought, play this turn 3, then turn 4, activate 2 of your Dreadnoughts.
We'd have to see if the shell is viable, because like those big cards that have expensive crew costs.
Yeah, if you don't have
like those cards are generally bad on their own.
Yeah.
And you would basically need this card out.
Yeah, if you don't have this card, then your big fatties are just impossible to crew.
Yeah, and in terms of limited, I'm not sure if this card is even that good in limited. Like, yeah, sure, it's like a 3-mana 6/6, but you got to crew for it, and you have to have vehicles that are worth, paying 1 and a white to crew them.
Vehicles are often trap cards, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
They're cool, they're flashy, but like if you get too many of them, it just kind of becomes really awkward. So
We'll have to see, but this card has a high top end, is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
The floor is that you get a 3-mana artifact vehicle that doesn't do anything. Yeah. If it could target itself for 1 and a white, this card would be absurd. But it can't. Like, it can't use that activated ability on itself. Yeah. We'll have to see. I mean, the card has a high top end, but it may be mediocre. Next card is Planar Bridge. 6-mana artifact, legendary, mythic. For 8 generic, you can tap it, search your library for a permanent card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. I hate this card because it reminds me a lot of Tron. I doubt Tron will play this, but I still hate it for that reason.
Well, I mean, you get your 3 Tron lands out. How much mana is that? 9?
3 Tron lands is 7 mana.
7 mana.
So you'd be 1 short.
Of the activation, but you can cast it.
Yeah. See, some people are comparing this to Eye of Ugin and Tron. And to that I disagree, because one of the benefits to Eye of Ugin is you had so many land tutors that whenever you reached that late game, you could tutor out your Eye of Ugin. You could start bringing out your Eldrazi off of it. And Planar Bridge, it's just not strong enough in Tron. Like, yeah, you can find it off Ancient Stirrings, but I don't think it's good enough.
I mean, if it was any much cheaper, it'd be pretty absurd. Because like tutoring for anything, well, almost anything, is incredibly strong, and it puts it on the.
Would you play this in Marvel? You're the Marvel player here.
Oh man, where am I gonna get the 8 energy? I mean, 8 mana. I mean, I get there sometimes. But usually it doesn't happen. This is so expensive. That's not worth running, I think. And
HC Fox brings up a good point. Show and tell costs 3.
Yeah, those crazy legacy foes.
I do kind of agree with Pork Ninja. This card's great in EDH. It's a tutor. Tutor each turn.
Most EDH players are going to be gaga for this.
Yeah, EDH players are always happy.
8 mana is a lot, but it's not terrible. Yeah. I don't like tutor effects in Commander, though. I mean, obviously they're really strong, but I just feel like it just kind of ruins the point.
What do you mean you don't like tutor effects in Commander?
I don't like tutor effects in Commander because, like, I feel like if it's a singleton format, why the hell am I running tutors? Like, the point of a singleton format is that, like, you only got singletons, so you don't have the consistency of 4 drops. I mean, 4 playsets. So,
I mean, that's why tutors are so good, is help you find the card you need in that specific situation.
Yeah, but it's like, I feel like it's against the spirit of Commander.
Well. I think as long as you're having fun, you're in the spirit of Commander.
Yeah, except my meta has been, like, mainly Breya combo decks and, like, Prosh combo decks and stupid combo decks.
Alright, next card. Prizefighter Construct.
Boo.
It is a 5-mana artifact creature construct 6/2. Nope.
This card is bad. Move on.
Yeah, don't pick it. You're going to get shocked, and then you're going to feel bad.
Okay, Renegade map is a 1 generic artifact. It enters the battlefield tapped, and then you can tap it to sack it, and then search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. Now, this card is not flashy, but it's so cheap at only 1 mana, and the activation cost is free. It's got a lot of applications. I mean, limited, it's decent. You'll pick it because it'll help you fix your mana by sacrificing them, and also trigger revolt. And in the same vein, I think in standard this might see play, because at 1 mana is cheap enough that it's almost no cost to you. Sack it to get yourself a land, which is fine, and then that triggered revolt. It's one of the easiest way to trigger revolt, I think.
I think the best part of this card is that you can play it turn 1, and then there's a lot of 2-mana cards that can be pretty absurd if you get revolt triggered, and you can do that the next turn. Plus, it finds you a land to play that 2-drop.
I mean,
I think this card
is very deceptively strong. It's simple, highly simple, but it gets the job done, which is why I'm giving it the award for best artifact common in the set.
Wow, very prestigious.
I know, very prestigious, highly prestigious.
I can't believe it beat out that 5-mana 6/2.
A lot of competition in artifacts comments.
Yeah.
You've come to expect that out of these sets. The artifacts are never really that powerful, mainly because Wizards have learned that artifacts can be dumb.
Yeah, you can run them just about anything. All right, next card is Reservoir Walker. It is 5 mana, artifact creature construct, 3/3 in stats. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life and get 3 energy.
I kind of like what it does, getting you 3 energy and 3 life.
Yeah.
3/3 is just rough for 5 mana.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of wondering what it can do in the Reservoir deck. Like, say in sideboards, bring it in against like aggro decks, because they have a lot of ways to make artifacts cheaper.
True.
And to bounce. Maybe. That's as far as I can see it being played and constructed. In limited, I would not pick this.
I mean,
but
I
then
like the text. It's a pretty valuable text. It's just that the stats are just too weak to be worth considering.
There's certain, like if you're in a deck where energy matters and you're more late game where you do need to gain that life, maybe it's not a bad sideboard card to bring it in against aggro.
Yeah, that's why I don't really see this card as bad per se. Like, it's pretty decent.
It's okay.
I just wish the stats were better.
Alright, next card is Scrap Trawler. 3 mana, artifact creature construct, 3/2. Whenever Scrap Trawler or another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return to your hand target artifact card in your graveyard with lesser converted mana cost.
Strong. Like, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It works pretty well with it, or another artifact was put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return to your hand target artifact card in your graveyard with lesser converted mana cost. It works pretty well with the aggressive artifact decks. You can bring back Copter, right? With this.
Yeah. Just off of Scrap Trawler dying.
Can,
Plus, what it checks off of its activated ability is the mana cost of whatever went into the graveyard from the battlefield.
Right.
So you could have bigger artifacts that can get you more value.
I think this is a good build around card. Like there's somebody that's gonna build a deck.
There might be a shell for it, and one of the things I like is that a 3 mana 3/2 that replaces itself basically if you have the card in your graveyard is good. Plus, it's a high priority target because your opponent can't really deal with your other artifacts before dealing with this guy. Like, they need to deal with this guy first.
Yeah, it's a good card.
So
I think it's very
that's powerful part about it.
What's next? Servo Schematic. 2 mana, 2 generic for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield or return to a graveyard, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Now, if this just had like an activation cost to sack it, this might not be awful. But you're paying 2 mana for a 1/1, and then somehow this has to go to your grave.
Yeah, but I also want to remind you about the ATOG-like creature in this format, the Gremlin, is that this gives you 3 things to sacrifice to it off this one card.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to sack artifact, which is powerful. I'm not crazy about it though. It's just like too much mana for what it does. All I'm getting is like 1/1s. But if it dies,
I think you're kind of undervaluing it. Because in terms of raw value, this is a lot like Raise the Alarm. Of course, this is an instant, but Raise the Alarm was a great card.
You can use Raise the Alarm for surprise combats, though.
I know, but like with this card, though, you can get essentially 3 artifact sacks in a deck that you need it. And plus, if you take Convoke into consideration, this is basically like a 2 mana rock that taps, you can tap for 2 essentially.
Yeah, you can tap for 2. Get your
I think this card is actually extremely strong.
Well, it definitely gets a lot better the more improvised cards you have. Like, this becomes a huge enabler for improvised cards. Yeah, it's alright, I suppose.
I think it's really good.
This card. A lot of people have been comparing this to Bloodbred Elf. We have Treasure Keeper, 4 mana, 3/3 construct. When it dies, reveal a card from the top of your library until you reveal an online card with CMC 3 or less. Then you may cast that card without paying its mana cost, and put all revealed creature cards not cast this way on the bottom of your library in random order. I'll be honest. I mean, obviously, when it dies and replacing itself is strong, and you get to cast it off your library. But it just like,
yeah. I mean, the card is. It is not true Cascade because you don't get it until after it dies, after it leaves the battlefield. I don't know.
I think you'll play it in limited, but it's not going to be a high pick because 4 mana 3/3. It doesn't do much. I mean,
But it is colorless, so it's not bad filler.
Yeah, yeah. And if you can block with it, have it die, get another creature out. But then your opponent that blocked probably has that creature alive too, for the most part, I think. I mean, just like I feel like seeing that death trigger is not gonna be that relevant.
Yeah. All right, next card is Universal Solvent. It is 1 mana artifact, but if you pay 7 and sack it, destroy target permanent.
It can hit planeswalkers. Wow.
This card is actually all right.
No, realistically though, this card is not that good. 7 mana is hella expensive.
7 mana is a lot for removal, yes, but if like I'm talking about in like a draft environment where you have a lot of cards with improvise or artifact matters, this is not bad. It's a card that gets you there that's cheap, plus it's relevant later on.
I mean, yeah, it's cheap artifact that lets you help trigger stuff, but usually if I'm playing artifacts,
if you consider improvise cards though,
yeah,
you basically play this for free because you can play this 1 mana artifact. It taps right away. You can improvise something out.
Yeah, true. It reminds me a lot of that card from BFC, Scout from Existence, except that exiled as well and was instant speed. Man, I thought that card was way better than I thought it was gonna be. I mean, when you're spending 7 mana to remove something, I mean, yes, this has the added benefit of artifact synergy, but I kind of want artifacts to synergize with my artifact synergy in a more impactful way.
I mean, I'm not saying this card is absolutely amazing, but if you have an improvise heavy shell and you need those early artifacts, this card's great because it gives you that advantage until you get to where you need to go, and then once you reach the late game, you turn a useless 1-drop into a removal spell.
True.
Yep. I think it's okay. I don't think I'd put a lot in my deck, but I think this could see play in certain shells.
I mean, it's just highly mediocre, I think. It just costs too much for that effect.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of things that are not mediocre, Untethered Express is a 4 mana artifact vehicle with trample, 4/4. Whenever Untethered Express attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Crew 1.
This is legitimately
one
of the best vehicles you can pick up in Limited.
Oh, this is amazing.
So strong.
It has such a great crew cost, and then it swings as a 5/5, and it's like a Raging Ravine. It just gets bigger and bigger. Yeah, you can't deal with it.
Yeah, you can compare it to Renegade Express or whatever that thing's called from Colorless. That was top tier common. This was uncommon, so you're gonna see it a lot less often in draft. But if you do pick this up, power.
Oh yeah, this card's great. And the best part I like is that it has trample, so your opponent can't ignore the threat.
Yep.
At some point, they got to find a way to deal with it. It is the hype train.
Definitely. Choo-choo. Alright, I think we're nearing the end. If this is not the last card, then the next one will be. So this is Verdant Automatas. This is 2 generic for a 1/2 construct. You can pay 3 and a green to put a +1/+1 counter on Verdant Automaton. I mean, this card's fine if you can sink a lot of mana into it. I mean, that's the biggest benefit of these cards. You can sink a lot of mana. But the fact that I'm paying 2 mana for a 1/2 and then I gotta pay 4 mana to even make it vanilla, past vanilla, I mean, I'm just like, ooh, I can play a 4-drop with that mana. It's just kind of unexciting. I mean, it's better than the black one that it gets countered, so, it's probably the best one of this cycle.
It's still very mediocre.
Yep, very, very mediocre. If you need a cheap artifact, you can do worse, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a mana sink into the late game. Next card is another one of the cycle. Watchful Automaton, 3 mana, 2/2 artifact creature construct. You can pay 2 and a blue to scry 1.
I mean,
boring.
It is boring, and a lot of it is overcosted. But that effect isn't awful. It reminds me a lot of Spyglass from Magnifying Glass or something like that from Shadows, which actually wasn't that bad because you were able to keep tapping it every once in a while to scry. It's not amazing like the other constructs, but the ability to scry whenever you have open mana available is nice. Oh crap! Went too far. Alright, next up we have Welder Automaton. This is the red run of the cycle. This is 2 generic for 2/1. You can pay 3 generic and a red to deal 1 damage to each opponent. Huh. It's just so weak.
Yeah, probably the worst of the cycle.
Yep.
1 damage is just not reasonable enough of a clock. However, it is a 2-mana 2/1, so that's not that bad, I guess. It probably has one of the best base stat lines.
Yeah, 2/1 can trade with a couple of stuff. Okay, next we have the 1 non-basic land in this set. It's a Spire of Industry. This is you can tap it to add colors to your mana pool, or you can pay 1 life to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Activate this ability only if you control an artifact. I mean, if we're gonna see an artifact list actually pop up, this is gonna be in it for sure. Giving you the ability to tap for any color will help, you know, splash for stuff. Like if you want to go like Grixis or something like that, it's powerful. And this combined with Aether Hub means there's a lot of potential for splashing in this upcoming standard. Like, mana isn't that hard to get by.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot like Mana Conflux. I mean, it's different in the sense that you have to have an artifact to activate to get the any color, but at the same time, unlike Mana Conflux, you do have an option to tap for Colorless instead and not deal damage to you.
Yep, which is nice.
So I think the card's good. We'll have to see if it sees play or not, but if you're playing a lot of artifacts and you're playing more than 2 colors, you probably want this.
Yeah, it's a decent card. Alright, well, that's it for the set itself, but Kaladesh has a little something, or the Kaladesh block has a little something known as the Masterpiece series, specifically the inventions in this block. So these are incredibly rare artifacts. I mean, the chances of you opening them are incredibly rare, but there's a lot of really exciting artifacts. We'll just showcase a few. We'll just go over them real quick. For instance, we have this set completed the cycle of swords, so 3 of them were in Kaladesh, and now we have Sword, Body and Mind, and War and Peace in Aether Revolt. We also have Arcbound Ravager, staple in Affinity. Engineered Explosives, fantastic card in Modern, kills anything. Chalice of the Void, super powerful card that can potentially lock out your opponent completely. Platinum Angel, this is a sweet card. A big flyer that means you can't lose the game. Wormcoil Engine, another really sweet artifact creature. Unfortunately, I think the art is a bit subpar.
Yeah, the art is a downgrade from the original.
And of course, the only masterpiece that really matters, Ornithopter.
Yep.
Oh, it's beautiful. Alright, so if you're lucky enough to open this in your draft pools or your limited pools, seal pools, feel free to jam them. But just remember, not legal in standard, except for Ornithopter.
Well, some of them are. Some of them are.
Yeah, but and if you're lucky enough to open one of these, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I definitely want the Engineered Explosives. That's going right into my sideboard in Modern.
Ooh.
That art is gorgeous, way better than Engineered Explosives regular art.
Kind of got funky art, yep.
Yeah. That Sword of War and Peace is sweet, too. I really like that one.
Yeah, these swords, the entire cycle of swords, I just love the art of them.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And hey, Arcbound Ravager is not bad either.
Yeah, you know what?
Cool.
It's an okay card. Not bad.
Yeah.
You know, you might have a list that plays around it. You know, with artifacts, maybe. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to our full Aether Revolt review. That was a pretty long session, but I'm glad we got it all done. A friendly reminder: if you want to see Aether Revolt in action, Loading Ready Run has probably completed their pre-release. So Loading Ready Run is a comedy troupe from Canada that plays a lot of Magic, and if you go to the Twitch channel, they're probably the pre-release, so they get product a week before pre-release and play a tournament. I highly recommend checking it out. It's been a blast the past couple of years, and I'm pretty expecting that this one's gonna be good too. All right, that's all, folks. Have a wonderful night.